Eugene Robinson is the Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist of the Washington Post and has covered Mitch McConnell and these leadership battles before. And Che Komanduri, a political strategist and veteran of several campaigns, including Obama's. Che, it would not be accurate or in context to quote Senator Hawley's challenge without being clear about his record on democracy, which I just mentioned. But in all seriousness, I quote Nas and the idea that the gang members got nothing on these congressmen because depending on the member of Congress, some of them are thuggish. What do you think about what he is now trotting out, a very different reaction to this subsequent election?
Yeah, frankly, if you're thinking rationally, it makes no sense. I mean, this election was a rejection of everything that Josh Hawley did on January 6th. And before that, the voters were very clear. They didn't want to vote for these MAGA loonies. They rejected extremism at every opportunity across the country. Yet Josh Hawley seems to be doubling down. And it's really remarkable that Rick Scott is mounting this challenge after his failure as head of the Republican Senate Committee. He is failing upwards, as is Kevin McCarthy. You know, the GOP, to me, looks like Dunder Mifflin from the TV show The Office, where incompetence seems to get you promoted. And, you know, you wonder, like, where did they get this idea? Well, they got
Stringer
it from Donald
Bell,
Trump.
by the way, in both shows. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Idris Elba was in both shows, and he was actually a more competent manager, I should say, one of the few that Dunder Mifflin had. But the reality is that, you know, they basically learned from Donald Trump, you can be incompetent and still attract the support of the GOP base. I mean, Trump has failed over and over again, and we have polls today that show that half of all Republicans, even after everything we've all seen, are still ready to vote for him in 2024.
Gene, I can't tell you what's going to happen in any future House Republican votes. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen in the midterms. We follow the evidence. The evidence tonight, Gene, suggests, though, that there are more Senate Republicans willing to publicly attack and cross McConnell. How unusual is that? What does that tell you?
Well, it's very unusual. And like you said in the intro, he's the king, and you better kill him, because if you don't, he's going to make your life miserable. I do not bet against Mitch McConnell here, as Che pointed out. Rick Scott. He's the guy who came up with this disastrous platform for the Republican senators to run on that involved, essentially sunsetting Medicare and Social Security and the entire social safety net. Not a good idea, not popular, didn't get them any votes. And in fact, they don't have the Senate. So I would think he would be an unlikely person for the Republican caucus to turn to. As for Senator Hawley, I have no idea what he thinks he's doing or what he thinks he's saying. Is he doubling down? Is he saying, let's go in some different direction? It's entirely unclear, except that, as you pointed out, he doesn't like being out of power. But that's where they're going to be for the next couple of years, at least. So they got plenty of time to kind of figure this out among themselves. But again, I'm not putting my money against Mitch McConnell at this point.
Yeah, let me show a little bit more, because this is a fast-moving story. And Che, there's a lot going on. We're going to get to some other stories coming up tonight. But people who follow the news know, Mitch McConnell gets away with a lot. Has these great abilities, political wily abilities, whatever you think of his actual ideological goals, which is why he's such a survivor. So just the very public fracture of certain members is itself striking. Here's some of these newer members, and you got this press conference moment where what's not said is interesting. Take a look, Jay.
Do you all support Leader McConnell as leader, to return as leader?
All right, folks, it's time to go. Thank you.
Mr. Mullen, no comments?
You don't have to answer that.
Che, you don't have to answer that. Not something I usually say to guests, although we have very different jobs. They are going to have to answer that soon. What do you think of the way that he jumped in to show some level of weakness? I mean, in a different year, he'd say, answer that, and they would say what he wanted him to say. He showed a level of weakness while still trying to play to avoid what could have been a worse answer if somebody felt like they're new to the DC, they don't know how it works, they think they have to answer, and they blurt out, well, I'm going to look at all the options.
Well, it was hardly a vote of confidence, and it did not look like McConnell thought he was in a strong position going forward. It really looked like a show of weakness. And, one of the big questions you have to ask about the Republican Party is, why is the choice between Mitch McConnell and Rick Scott? Like, how does that make any sense for a party that's thinking about the future? You have on one hand a guy who said, let's cut Social Security, probably cost a lot of votes to the GOP. We have a cycle where, depending on what happens in Georgia, not a single incumbent Democratic senator has lost. I mean, what an indictment on Rick Scott.
Slow down and say that again, because it almost sounds like you're trying to say something pro-Democrat, like, oh, clean sweep, if depending on Georgia, but that's just math. Say that again.
So not a single incumbent Democratic senator has lost in this cycle. And, you have to go back, I believe, to like 1934 to find an example when that happened, when the party that had the White House experienced that kind of success. So it's really rather remarkable that Rick Scott, after this performance, thinks he can challenge McConnell. And it's also remarkable that McConnell, after 15 years, and really with another lousy midterm election to show for it, is still in power in where he is.
Well, that's what's so interesting about whether there's accountability or not. You made the business analogy before, and whether it's a fictional or real business, one of the things we're told about functional businesses is if the executive performs poorly in a measurable way, the board of the stock market will push them out, that's something that's supposed to work. Well, that accountability is not operating here. And, Gene, I'm sure you know the famous midterm season expression, why is this night different from all other nights? Anyone?
Yes.
It's a Passover.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I thought you might. It's a Passover reference. I jest, but this night is different, Gene. And hey, I'm Ari Melber. Thanks for watching The Beat. I wanted to let you know I'm writing a foreword to the January 6th committee's full report, which is coming out soon from HarperCollins. You can go pre-order the book right now, and it'll come to you first when the report comes out in the fall or whenever the government releases it. Just search Melber Jan 6th on Amazon or your favorite independent book site and click pre-order. You'll be the first to get both the report and my new piece on the coup conspiracy. You can also go to melberbook.com and order it there.